My brother brought home a girl. He claimed I wasn't the real daughter of the family, and that I'd been switched at birth by the nanny, and that she, the girl he brought back, was the real heiress of my family. I looked at him, then at the girl who supposedly shared his features. Their resemblance was undeniable. A cold laugh escaped my lips. But have you ever considered this possibility? I am the true heiress, and he is the fake young master. Chapter 1. The group of men sitting around Anthony all perked up, their curiosity piqued. No way. Are you serious? Anthony, when he's drunk, is like a wild animal. He doesn't let anyone near him. How could someone possibly be an exception? Yeah, I remember that one time he got wasted, and I tried helping him back to his room. He snapped my arm like a twig. Same here. Everyone says Anthony turns into a total demon when he's drunk. Anyone who gets close to him is asking to get hurt. I didn't believe it back then, so I tried to get him drunk just to see if I could handle it. Ended up with a full body cast and 2 months in the hospital. Doctors say it's some kind of extreme self-defense reflex. When he's drunk, he trusts nobody, and anyone who approaches gets taken out. So what's so special about this woman that he actually trusts her when he's drunk? I don't buy it, unless she shows us proof. I raised an eyebrow, pulling out my phone. Sure, I'll show you, but first Venmo me $50. One of them actually whipped out his phone and sent me the money. Ding, payment received. I pointed toward the bar counter. Let me pay the tab first. Once you've gotten him drunk, come find me. The whole group erupted in cheers and laughter, hyping each other up. But Anthony, he just leaned back in the booth, narrowing his eyes at me in that dangerous way of his. I wasn't the least bit intimidated. After all, I'd seen every possible version of him when he was drunk. I even had photos saved on my phone of him passed out on the bathroom floor, hugging the toilet like it was his long-lost love. Sure, he might look all polished and composed now, sitting there in his designer suit, oozing sophistication and charm. But in front of me, that facade had long since shattered. After settling the bill at the bar, I watched my coworkers head home one by one before turning back toward the booth. After all, I'd taken their money. I had to give them a performance. Sure enough, Anthony's friends were working overtime, trying to get him drunk. But Anthony wasn't having it. Before I could even say a word, he grabbed my wrist, yanked me out of the booth, and marched me straight out of the bar. He shoved me into his sleek, black Maybach, slamming the door behind us with a loud thud. It felt like opening a shaken soda bottle. The tension was palpable. I rubbed my nose sheepishly. Hey, it's not my fault you only trust me when you're drunk. Honestly, it's a hassle for me too. Chapter 2. To really explain how this started, we'd have to go back 6 months. That night, I was walking home late after work when I spotted a man lying flat on his back in the middle of the street, a rental bike draped over him like a blanket. It was such a ridiculous sight, I couldn't help but pull out my phone to snap a picture. But as I got closer, I realized something. This guy was gorgeous. Sure, he reeked of alcohol and was clearly out cold, but his face? Absolute perfection. He mumbled something about being thirsty, so I reached into my bag, pulled out my water bottle, and poured him a drink. He gulped it down like a child, finishing it in 3 big swigs. Hey, I said, nudging him gently. You can't just sleep in the middle of the street like this. Where's your phone? I'll call someone to come get you. No response. He just kept snoring like a baby. Left with no other choice, I reached into his pocket to search for his phone. Let me just say, those long legs of his, they belonged on a runway. When I finally found his phone, I used facial recognition to unlock it and dialed the first contact I saw on his WhatsApp. It was a video call, so I angled the camera to show his face. Hey, your friend's passed out drunk in the middle of the street. If you care about him at all, come pick him up. The person on the other end didn't even ask for my location. Instead, they gasped in horror and barked. Step away from him. Right now. At least 5 feet. I scoffed. Relax. I'm not trying to rob him or anything. Listen, I said. I'll send you my location. Just come get him, okay? But the guy's tone grew even more urgent. I'm serious. Get away from him unless you have a death wish. I rolled my eyes and hung up. Whatever. Crazy people. I sat down next to the drunk guy, figuring I'd wait until his friend arrived. That's when he decided my lap looked like a great pillow. Under the moonlight, he slept soundly, his head resting on my thighs. 10 minutes later, his friend showed up, took one look at the situation, and froze like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't do anything to him, I said quickly. I swear. Before I could say more, the drunk guy shifted positions, wrapping both arms around my waist like I was some kind of human body pillow. I tried prying him off, but his grip was like a vice. Hey, I shouted, tugging at his ear. Wake up. Your friend's here to take you home. He didn't budge, snoring even louder. Frustrated, I turned to his friend for help. Can you give me a hand here? I can't get him to let go. But the guy just stood there, keeping a safe distance. I'm not getting closer, he said firmly. Why not? I snapped. Because I don't want to die. I blinked at him, dumbfounded. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Chapter 3. The guy on the phone claimed he wasn't some drunk's friend. He was his bodyguard. A few minutes later, the bodyguard pulled up in a sleek SUV and parked a good 15 feet away. He rolled down his window and called out, "All right, you figure out how to get the boss into the car." I stared at him like he'd lost his mind. Are you serious? He's your boss, not mine. I was just being nice by calling you, and now you're dumping this on me. But no matter how much I yelled, the bodyguard refused to budge. He stood at a distance, arms crossed, watching me like this was some kind of twisted reality show. I was furious. Dragging the drunk man felt like trying to haul a dead weight, and I took out all my frustration on him as I yanked him toward the car. The bodyguard must have been worried I'd rough his boss up too much because he finally, reluctantly, moved closer to help. But what happened next left us both stunned. The man, who had been dead to the world just seconds ago, suddenly sprang to life. With lightning speed, he pulled a Swiss Army knife from his waistband, yanked me behind him, and lunged at the bodyguard like some kind of action hero. The way he moved, fast, precise, and brutal, was terrifying. If the bodyguard hadn't jumped back, I was pretty sure we'd be starring in a crime scene. I stood there frozen, my mind a jumble of question marks. The bodyguard retreated to a safe distance and gave me an awkward smile. Now, do you see why I didn't want to help? He gestured at the drunken man, who was now glaring at the world like a feral animal. When the boss is drunk, no one can get near him. He's insanely aggressive. I instinctively touched my neck, thinking I should probably run. But then, out of nowhere, the man put the knife away, leaned his head on my shoulder, and promptly fell back asleep. I was speechless. The bodyguard, equally baffled, muttered, "You're the only person I've ever seen who can get this close to him when he's drunk. Are you blind? He's the one leaning on me." I wanted to cry. What am I supposed to do now? I asked, almost in tears. The bodyguard shrugged. Well, you'll have to get him in the car and drive him home. Can you drive? Barely. I squinted at him, suspicious. You're not pulling some kind of prank on me, are you? Why am I the only one who can calm him down? What about his parents? The bodyguard's face turned somber. The boss's parents passed away a long time ago. His only family is his grandfather, and even he can't get near him when he's drunk. This was ridiculous. Summoning every ounce of strength I had, I somehow managed to wrestle the 6-foot-tall man into the car, then climbed into the driver's seat to take him home. Before I left, the bodyguard added me on WhatsApp. Just in case we need your help again. Yeah, right. Don't even think about it. I snapped. Then he sent me $5,000. My tone instantly softened. Well, if you insist, just let me know. I'm always happy to help. But it's $5,000 every time, okay? Chapter 4. 2 weeks later, one evening, I got a notification. Another $5,000 transfer from the bodyguard. Leah, it's an emergency. We need you. I've sent the location. The location turned out to be the most exclusive club in the city. When I pushed open the door to the private room, chaos greeted me. Several men, people I'd only seen on the news or in Forbes magazine, were sprawled unconscious across the floor. Minutes later, paramedics arrived, loading them all onto stretchers and rushing them to the hospital. By the end of it, the only person left in the wrecked room was Anthony. He was slumped against the wall, clutching the same Swiss Army knife, his bloodshot eyes scanning the room like a predator on high alert. To be honest, with his wild, unhinged aura, he looked like someone who could take on an army single-handedly. My legs started shaking as I realized the situation. I quickly refunded the $5,000 and stammered, "Nope. Nope. I can't do this." The bodyguard immediately sent $50,000. "I get it. You want more. Consider this a new price." That wasn't what I meant, but it was $50,000. I was just a broke office worker. How was I supposed to resist that kind of money? Taking a deep breath, I cautiously approached Anthony. I tapped his shoulder lightly and whispered, "Hey, don't kill me, okay? Just put the knife down." To my shock, he actually listened. He blinked at me through his drunken haze, staring at me for what felt like an eternity. Then, without a word, he tucked the knife away. The next second, he swayed on his feet and collapsed, right into my arms. Oh, come on. He was heavy, so heavy that I lost my balance and fell backward. But just before I hit the ground, he twisted mid-fall, cushioning my landing with his own body. I ended up sprawled on top of him, completely stunned. Chapter 5. Outside the car, Anthony's bodyguard was rambling on, showing him something on his phone. From my spot inside, I cracked the window open just enough to eavesdrop. It sounded like he was playing videos of me from all the times I'd been called in for emergencies. I caught snippets of the bodyguard's explanation. "Sir, this is the situation. I wasn't trying to hide it from you, I swear. It's just that I haven't figured out yet if you and Leah had any connection in the past. I mean, why is it that when you're drunk, your most defensive and guarded state, you trust her above anyone else?" I wanted to investigate further before saying anything. After a pause, Anthony flung the car door open and slid into the seat next to me. I immediately buried my head in my phone, pretending I hadn't been listening. But honestly, I'd been racking my brains about the same question for months now. How on earth could someone like him and someone like me have any sort of shared history? Anthony was basically the prince of the city, born with a silver spoon in his mouth and a net worth that could make headlines. Meanwhile, I was just an ordinary woman, a small-town girl who'd managed to land a job in the big city after college. The idea that our lives could have ever intersected? Pure fantasy. Glancing at his brooding expression, I could feel the tension radiating off him. "Welp," I said, forcing a laugh. "If there's nothing else, I'll just get out of your hair. Bye. No need to see me off." I reached for the door handle, but Anthony moved faster. His grip wrapped around my wrist like a vice. "You're staying with me until we figure this out." "Wait, what?" I blinked. "What about your girlfriend? Isn't she going to have a problem with this?" His jaw tightened. "I don't have." He cut himself off, then added, "She's abroad." "Oh, I see." I smirked. The classic long-distance girlfriend excuse. Got it. Then a light bulb went off in my head. Wait a second. Do I look like her? Is that it? You've been mistaking me for your dream girl. When you're drunk, haven't you? That would explain everything. Phew, for a second there. I thought we actually had some kind of connection. Anthony's face darkened. Shut up. You don't look like her. Then he added coldly, she can't get close to me either. I froze. Wait, what? You're saying your dream girl can't even get near you when you're drunk? What kind of dream girl is that? Do you even like her that much? His expression turned even stormier, his voice laced with disdain. Why do you talk so much? I shrugged. The mouth is mine. Can I say what I want? The bodyguard, now behind the wheel, burst out laughing at that one. Anthony, however, didn't even crack a smile. Instead, he barked at the bodyguard. Pay her to shut up. Ding! The bodyguard sent me $10,000. Well, who was I to argue? I zipped my lips and mimed locking them shut. Customer satisfaction is key, after all. Basic rules of being a professional. But when the car finally pulled into Anthony's massive estate, I crossed my arms and put my foot down. Look, I said firmly, I don't do sleepovers. No amount of money is going to change that. Us Gen Z girls have principles, you know. Anthony gave me a look so full of disgust you'd think I'd insulted his entire family. Don't flatter yourself, he snapped. You'll be staying in the guest room, as a servant. From now on, your job is to take care of me when I'm drunk. And just like that, I found myself moving into the billionaire's mansion. Into the guest room. Forced. No room for negotiation. Anthony, the arrogant drunken control freak, had effectively turned me into his personal drunk caretaker. The only reason I didn't quit on the spot? The daily $10,000 payment he wired me. At that price, I could deal with anything, even him. Chapter 6. Every single day, I silently prayed to Anthony's dream girl to hurry up and return back. When that day finally came, I could finally reclaim my freedom, right? I mean, what self-respecting woman would tolerate a gorgeous maid like me living under the same roof as her man? Of course, the rumor mill was already working overtime. Gossip blogs were buzzing with stories about how Anthony had hidden away his secret lover in a golden cage. Apparently, every time he had one drink too many, he'd call this mystery girl to come get him. The headlines made it sound like I was some VIP in Anthony's life. If only they knew the truth. By day, I was just another overworked corporate drone. By night, I was stuck moonlighting as the personal maid to an insufferable drunk billionaire. I was exhausted. Just when I thought I was going to boil over like an overpressurized instant pot, the dream girl finally returned to the country. The moment she arrived at Anthony's mansion, I was ready for her to storm in with all the fury of a jealous fiancé and throw me out. Instead, when she walked into the living room and saw me lounging on the couch, casually munching on imported fruit, she froze. She looked at me like I was a ghost. There I was, reclining on the plush sofa, one leg crossed over the other, waiting for her to blow a gasket. But instead of unleashing her fury, she stumbled back like she'd just seen a demon, practically tripping over her own feet. She ended up backing straight into Anthony, who had appeared behind her, his face unreadable and cold. Her face went pale as a sheet. When she finally managed to speak, her voice wavered. Anthony, who is she?" Anthony narrowed his eyes, his gaze sharp and unrelenting. "What are you so scared of? Feeling guilty about something?" "And no, it's just, I had a long flight. I'm jet-lagged, that's all." Anthony studied her for a moment before saying, "I'll have the bodyguard take you home to rest." "Oh, okay. Sure." And just like that, the dream girl scurried away like a frightened kitten, completely shattering my expectations. As she reached the door, she suddenly stopped and turned back, her voice hesitant but firm. "Anthony, your grandfather said we need to move forward with our wedding plans. We can't delay it any longer." Anthony didn't respond. His tall frame blocked my view of her, and I was practically vibrating with frustration. I wanted to shove him aside, grab her by the shoulders and yell, "Girl, get it together. You're going to marry the man. And you're not even using this as an opportunity to kick me out? What are you doing?" But before I could act, Anthony grabbed the back of my shirt collar like I was a misbehaving cat, dragged me outside, and shoved me into his car. "Hey," I protested. "What now? Where are we going?" "There's an event tonight. I'll probably have to drink. You're coming with me." I groaned. "Can't you just drink less for once? You know alcohol's bad for you, right?" He glanced at me amused. "Worried about me? Yeah, right. I'm worried about myself. You could at least work on your issues, or find someone else to babysit you." Ignoring me, he tossed a catalog onto my lap. "Stop whining and pick one." I opened it up to find page after page of breathtaking evening gowns, the kind Hollywood stars wear on the red carpet. My eyes sparkled as I flipped through the pages, practically drooling. But then I slammed the catalog shut. "Boss, this is not the kind of thing a broke corporate worker should even be looking at." "Pick one," he said flatly. "You'll wear it tonight." "Just one?" I teased. "How about two? What if someone spills wine on me? Actually, 3 would be safer. You know, just in case." His gaze turned icy, filled with disdain. "Relax. No one would dare mess with someone under my protection." I rolled my eyes. "Wow, so generous of you. Just to be clear, I'm not your woman. I'm just the poor maid stuck babysitting a drunk billionaire." Chapter 7. Anthony, that lying bastard, is officially the least trustworthy man on the planet. He swore up and down that no one at the party would dare mess with me. And yet here I was with red wine dripping down my face. Guess that's what I get for having a big mouth. I just had to jinx myself. But don't get me wrong. I'm not the type to sit back and suffer in silence. Oh no. I grabbed that girl by the hair and refused to let go. My personal motto: forget dignity, embrace chaos. Don't overthink. Just lose your mind if needed. I wasn't about to waste my energy worrying about my image in front of these trust fund snobs or the rich elite. I wasn't aiming to marry into wealth anyway. I was just a corporate grunt doing my job, and Anthony had kept me stuck by his side for 3 months. I had plenty of pent-up frustration waiting to explode. So whoever dared to mess with me, they'd better prepare for war. By the time Anthony arrived, I was already on top of the girl, yanking her hair with both hands. To be fair, she had a good grip on my hair too. Note to self, shave my head tomorrow. Weak spots like this should never be exposed twice. Seeing Anthony's darkened expression, I decided to get ahead of the inevitable scolding and tattled first. She dumped red wine all over my dress. You said no one would dare bully me. This was my first time wearing such a gorgeous gown, and it's the only one I have. Anthony, ever the calm one, replied. There are 2 more in the car. Wait, seriously? Seriously, I'll take you to change. But what if they're not as pretty as this one? Then I'll buy every dress from the catalog. Satisfied with his answer, I eased up. Fine, tell her to let go of my hair first, then I'll let go. Anthony turned his sharp gaze on the girl. Let go. She immediately burst into tears. Anthony, I'm your sister. Your own sister. Wait, what? I was fighting Anthony's sister this whole time. I froze, instantly letting go and scrambling to hide behind Anthony. Peeking out from behind him, I gave her my best apologetic look, silently pleading for mercy. Anthony, however, just ruffled my messy hair like I was a misbehaving puppy. She's just a distant cousin, he muttered. Don't worry, she's not important. Not important? Oh, well, in that case, everyone has that one annoying relative, right? I straightened up, puffing out my chest, and declared, She started it. I was just defending myself. Then I grabbed Anthony's arm and tugged. Let's go. Show me those other dresses you bought me. I added as we walked off. And if you're lying about having 2 more dresses, I'll let you embarrass yourself the next time you get drunk. You can dance on a table in front of everyone, and I won't drag you home. I shot a glare back toward the cousin. By the way, what's her deal? I didn't even say a word to her, and she's out here dumping wine on me like a lunatic. She said I was some shameless freeloader living in your house. But for the record, I do have an official position. Why shouldn't I live there? Anthony let me drag him along, silently enduring my endless ranting. Finally, he cut in with a smirk. And what exactly is your official position? Your maid, obviously. Anthony paused, side-eyeing me. You sound oddly proud of that. Of course I am. I shot back. We working-class folks make an honest living. We don't steal, we don't cheat, and we work hard for our money. Why should I feel inferior to anyone? Anthony actually laughed at that. He led me to his sleek Maybach, opened the trunk, and pulled out 2 stunning evening gowns. They were as gorgeous as the first one. My grumpiness melted away in an instant, replaced with childlike glee. Wow, so you did come prepared. You act all confident, but deep down, you know someone might mess with you. That's why you brought backups. Anthony's face darkened. If you don't want the dresses anymore, feel free to keep talking. But I wasn't about to let him off so easily. I rolled my eyes, thinking about the humiliation I'd endured earlier. You didn't protect me properly, and now you won't even let me complain? What kind of boss are you? If you can't even protect your own employees, who's going to stick around to work for you? That finally seemed to strike a nerve. Anthony's expression shifted, and for once, he looked serious. You're right, he said, his tone unusually sincere. From now on, I'll protect you. I promise. Chapter 8. If I trust anything, Anthony says ever again, I'm an absolute idiot. I'd barely changed into my new, stunning dress for the party when one of his attendants informed me that his grandfather wanted to see me. And of course, Anthony wasn't around to help. He'd been stopped outside the ballroom, caught up in some conversation, completely oblivious to the fact that I was being led into a private sitting room to face the boss-level final boss of this family. When I arrived, his lovely cousin, oh yes, her, was already there, practically foaming at the mouth as she tattled to Grandpa like a bratty kid in a playground fight. Grandpa, it's her, she screeched. That shameless homewrecker. Who knows what kind of spell she's cast on my cousin? He's supposed to marry Ella, And yet this woman refuses to leave his side. Before she could get another word out, I walked straight up to her and slapped her across the face. The sound echoed in the room like a gunshot, leaving her stunned. Say the word homewrecker one more time. I dare you. Her hand flew to her cheek, her eyes wide. You, how dare you hit me? I'll kill you. We'll see who wins that fight. Let's be clear. I've never lost a fight in my life. Just as things were about to escalate, Grandpa's cane struck the floor with an authoritative thud. Enough! His voice boomed. Both of you stop this nonsense. Then he turned to his granddaughter. Leave us. Now. But Grandpa. Out! She shot me a murderous look on her way out, hissing through gritted teeth. You better watch your back. This isn't over. I rolled up my sleeves and shot back. Bring it on. Fate's already told me my horoscope is unbreakable. She stormed off, and I sat down across from Grandpa without waiting for an invitation, because why bother pretending I had manners when I clearly didn't? Grandpa studied me for a moment before finally speaking. I hear Anthony lets you near him when he's drunk. Is that true? Yep, I said, leaning back in my chair. He hired me to take care of him when he's wasted. That's all this is. I'm no homewrecker. Do you know why my grandson acts the way he does when he drinks? Yeah, trauma-induced PTSD. Pretty textbook if you ask me. And do you know what caused that trauma? Sir, I'm not a mind reader. Look, I added bluntly, if you've got something to say, just spit it out. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I'm even worse at playing guessing games. Grandpa sighed and launched into a long-winded story. And when I say long, I mean long. The man talked for an hour straight, and he still wasn't finished. Just as I was contemplating whether I'd die of old age before this conversation ended, a bodyguard burst into the room, clearly flustered. Leah, he said, Mr. Anthony is drunk again. He's asking for you. I shot to my feet immediately, grateful for the excuse to leave. But as I turned to go, I paused, glancing back at the old man. Listen, I get it now, I said. You're trying to tell me that Anthony went through something horrific as a kid. He trusted the wrong person, and it led to his parents' deaths. The guilt and pain traumatized him so much that he shut the world out and refused to trust anyone. But during his darkest time, there was one person who stayed by his side, a girl who never betrayed him, who even risked her life to protect him. That girl, I continued, is Ella, the woman he's supposed to marry. You're hoping I'll step aside so they can finally get their happy ending, right? Grandpa didn't say a word, but his silence spoke volumes. I nodded. Got it. Message received. I'll make it easy for you. Help me leave, and I promise, tonight will be the last time I play chauffeur for your drunken grandson. After that, I'm gone for good. ## Chapter 9. After leaving the reception room, the bodyguard looked constipated and asked me, Miss Leah, are you really going to leave? Yes, I've made nearly $1 million in 3 months, enough to buy a house back home and raise a puppy. I don't want to compete in the big city anymore. Don't tell Anthony about this. I don't want to be tied to him as a servant forever. Dealing with a drunk is one thing, but dealing with his brainless cousin calling me a mistress is another. This job is not for humans. Besides, isn't his beloved back and about to marry him? It's really inappropriate for me to stay. The bodyguard said, Actually, the young master doesn't like Miss Ella. It's the old man who has been forcing the marriage. Not my problem. I returned to the banquet hall and found Anthony drinking with someone. His friends saw me and started cheering. Is it really her? The girl who can get close to Anthony when he's drunk. Is it true? We'll find out tonight. We must get Anthony drunk. I walked over to Anthony and whispered, Young master, can't you drink less? His friends said, No way. Do you know who Anthony is drinking with? The top hypnotherapist, Brian. Anthony wants Brian to help him with hypnosis to recall a vague memory. Anthony experienced something terrible as a child. His memory is fuzzy, and he doesn't want to think about it. But recently, for some reason, he desperately wants to relive the nightmare. He's tried many hypnotherapists, but none worked. Brian is his last hope. But Brian said unless Anthony can outdrink him, he won't help. I rolled my eyes, reasonably suspecting. Could it be you guys teamed up with Brian to set him up? Just to see if I'm the only one who can get close to him when he's drunk? Don't deny it, you all look like a bunch of schemers. Laughter erupted around me, and they all gave me thumbs up. Haha, you guessed it. So what? You still owe us a performance from last time when we transferred $500 to you. Debts must be repaid, that's only fair. I decided to let it go. Fine, I'm just a diligent worker. Every time, I have to push, pull, and drag Anthony back home, using all my strength. Working hard is exhausting, but I have to endure it. Complaining doesn't help. I went to the food area, ate my fill and returned. Within 5 meters of Anthony, there wasn't even a mosquito. Everyone was looking at me excitedly, waiting for my performance. I asked who won. Someone said, Brian is already passed out drunk. Anthony is slightly better but still drunk. Show us your trick. All right, time to clear the debt. I walked up to Anthony. He was sitting on a single sofa, pressing his temples, his face flushed from drinking. I poked his forehead hard. Get up, let's go home. Like walking a dog, I pulled his arm and led him away. When Anthony is not too drunk, he follows me obediently like this. Everyone around rubbed their eyes hard. Am I seeing things, or is Anthony not drunk at all? He must not be drunk. How can he be so obedient when drunk? No way, I need to test this. Maybe I can get close to Anthony too. The next second, screams filled the banquet hall. Ah, Anthony, I was wrong, don't kill me, Leah, save me, ah. ## chapter 10. Some people didn't believe it, and insisted on getting close to Anthony, only to be met with his Swiss knife at their throats. Almost a bloodbath. In a flash, I hugged the crazed Anthony, gently patting his back, soothing the lion. Don't attack, be good, put the knife down. Anthony, if you don't put the knife down, I'll get mad. With a swift motion, Anthony sheathed the Swiss knife. The tall drunk, swaying unsteadily, looked down at me with a pitiful expression. The contrast was so cute it made my heart melt. Around me, voices of disbelief echoed. My eyes must be deceiving me. What am I witnessing? Please, you two get married right here. Among them, Anthony's cousin's angry voice. You guys are delusional. My brother belongs to Ella. Not listening, la la la. Love or not, physical reactions are the most genuine. You don't understand men. This is true love etched in his bones. Basking in the admiration of everyone, I led the obedient Anthony out of the banquet hall, drove him home by myself. On the way, I felt inexplicably irritated. Anthony was already asleep in the passenger seat. That handsome face, so tempting. But is it something I can desire? Thinking of the old man's story, my nose tingled with sadness. This man is actually quite pitiful, with a heart condition that's hard to cure. I don't know who will take him home when I'm gone. What if he ends up drunk on the street again, using a shared bike as a blanket? No, feeling sorry for a man will only bring bad luck. Leah, stay calm. Finish this last job tonight and leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll fall for him too. Facing a boss who only allows you to get close when drunk, who can resist? His beloved is back. I can't stoop to being a mistress. ## chapter 11. The car pulled into the villa. I dragged Anthony out. He leaned his head on my shoulder, mumbling about feeling sick and wanting to throw up. Serves you right for drinking so much. Anthony, drunk, said, I want to remember. Remember what? The nightmare you want to forget? Aren't you afraid it'll hurt more to remember? Anthony, with red eyes, looked at me. I want to marry you. Spit cough, what did you say? Hallucination. I must be hallucinating. Anthony hugged me, his head rubbing against my neck, whining. You smell so good. I remember this scent. I won't forget. I struggled to get him into the house, scolding the drunk. Thanks, call me smelly. Why didn't you show up earlier? I didn't forget you. Are you playing reincarnation with me? I didn't know you before. Finally getting him into the bedroom, I pushed him onto the bed. But Anthony pulled me down with him, rolling onto the bed together. I yelled, get off. No. Anthony was really drunk, hugging me tightly, his head buried in my neck, rubbing. Dangerous sparks were about to ignite, his breath scorching. Hey Anthony, calm down. Look closely. I'm just your hired servant, not your beloved who just returned. You're not a servant. Right, I'm your mom. Good boy, call me mom. Leah, I remember your name. Then he captured my lips, sealing them with a kiss. My mind exploded, going blank. Buzzing all muddled, Wait, what's happening? Anthony, let go, bastard, give me back my first kiss. I cried, unable to push him away. This man finally harassed me at work. Hashtag chapter 12. The old man said someone would come to take me away tonight. The person responsible waited downstairs for a long time, but I didn't come down. Later, somehow, Ella and Anthony's cousin opened the door. Caught in the act. The cousin cursed vilely, rushing to hit me. Anthony, drunk and protective, grabbed her by the neck, nearly choking her. Ella and I worked together to save the cousin from Anthony's grip. I yelled, "If you don't want to die, get out." The cousin, scared, retreated with Ella. She stood at the door cursing. "You said you're not a mistress." "Ella, how can you tolerate this? That bitch is sleeping with your man." Ella said, "Miss Leah, you have 10 minutes to pack. We'll wait in the living room." I wiped my swollen lips, feeling guilty for the first time, unable to retort. Frustrated to death, I wanted to kick the culprit into the Pacific Ocean. After splashing cold water on my face to calm down, he was already asleep on the bed. I irritably covered him with a blanket, saying goodbye. "Anthony, I'm leaving. From now on, we won't meet again. Take care of yourself. Don't get drunk when I'm not around." Anthony slept soundly, unaware. This rough man. I wonder if he'll search the city for me when he wakes up and finds me gone. What am I thinking? Just a servant, dreaming of leaving a mark in the young master's heart? Leah, you're getting too cocky. I forced myself not to be sentimental, went to the guest room, and packed my things. I realized I had collected quite a bit from Anthony over the past 3 months. One suitcase wasn't enough. Finally, I dragged 3 large suitcases to the living room. Ella and the cousin were sitting on the couch, waiting to kick me out. Ella, no longer the weakling I first met, sat with a dignified posture. "Miss Leah, thank you for taking care of Anthony these past months. We're getting married soon. I wanted to invite you to the wedding, but Grandpa said it's better for you to leave early to avoid developing habits you can't afford. This is for your own good. Everyone should know their place." I looked disheveled. "Can I go now?" Without waiting for a response, I dragged my suitcases out, leaving with flair. Goodbye, adventure in the wealthy family. Next time I see Anthony in the news, it should be about his wedding with Ella, right? Hashtag chapter 13. I found out much later that Anthony didn't marry Ella. After I left, the city was turned upside down. At first, Anthony searched for me in a small area. 2 months later, he became a mad dog. He came to my hometown, staying at my house, occupying my bed. My mom secretly called me. "Be honest, did you scam him out of a lot of money?" I've only seen men this relentless when chasing debts. He stays at our house every day, saying you can run, but the temple can't. "Leah, we can't do bad things. I had a headache. Call the police, dial 911. My mom cursed. "Your dad won't let me. That guy is a chess master. Your dad found his match and plays with him every day after work." In crucial moments, men are unreliable, your dad included. "It's almost New Year's. How will you come home?" "Leah, be honest, do you owe money? Or is it a love debt?" Big mistake. Huge mistake. Why didn't I fake my death? A few days later, my mom called again. "Leah, I think this guy is okay. Why don't you two date? Avoiding him isn't a solution. We need to face the problem." I was alarmed. "Mom, what did he give you?" "Well, actually nothing. Don't pretend. I know you and Dad. Who's unreliable? You've been bribed in just a few days. I misjudged you. Blocking you for a month, no negotiation." A few days later, my mom didn't call. I had put her in the black room. I saw news about Anthony's company trending. Anthony had overthrown his grandfather's power. The media uncovered a family secret. An insider revealed the old man and Ella brainwashed Anthony, but were defeated when he regained his memory. The post was vague, making people curious. I was too curious and contacted the bodyguard. "What's going on? Tell me." "Hey, reply, are you there?" The bodyguard finally responded, 2 words. "Just died." Bodyguard. Long story, call me. All right. Curiosity killed the cat. I talked to the bodyguard for an hour, just to get the latest scoop, until someone broke in. That tall figure, strong build and handsome face. I screamed. "You had the bodyguard call me to track my location?" Anthony strode over, picked me up, and carried me out. Not dumb, but too late. Dare to leave without a word. You're punished to stay with me forever. ## Chapter 14. I was back in the city. Anthony imprisoned me in the villa, forbidding me from eating ice cream. Because it's winter, I could only order a hot pot, cooking snowflake beef, while asking, "So, you're saying you were deceived by your grandfather and Ella? The girl who didn't abandon you in a crisis, and even protected you was me? But I have no memory of it. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" Anthony rolled his eyes, confidently saying, "No mistake. After winning the drinking contest with Brian, he gave me 2 months of deep hypnosis therapy. I remembered everything. I also asked your parents. 10 years ago, your family traveled to the city. They said you got lost during the trip, and they searched everywhere for you. When they found you, you had a high fever. When you woke up, you didn't remember anything. How about letting Brian give you deep hypnosis therapy too?" I quickly refused. If I forgot it, it must not be a good memory. I don't want to remember it. But I think my mom did mention I got lost during a trip as a child. Alright, let's say I saved your life. So what? Are you going to repay kindness with enmity? Imprisoning me as a servant forever? Anthony pulled me into his lap, my face blushing, pushing him away. But he wouldn't let go. "What are you doing? No flirting." Anthony ignored me, holding me, staring at my lips. "Did you kiss me when I was drunk?" "Nonsense, you kissed me." "How was it?" "Okay, ugh. Not good." I wouldn't admit I often reminisced about it. Anthony pinched my chin. "How about I give you a better one?" "No, This bastard again. Help, I can't resist, I'll surrender." I remember leaving the city with flair. But after leaving, I felt restless every day. I traveled with the money I earned from Anthony, visiting mountains, rivers, grasslands, and the sea. Even though I hadn't been in love, I felt heartbroken. Later, my mom said Anthony came to my house looking for me, and I felt a bit happy. But I knew Anthony would eventually marry his beloved, so I shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. Until the news revealed Anthony refused to marry Ella and overthrew his grandfather. I was itching to know more. I called the bodyguard, wanting to know if there was more between Anthony and Ella. One wrong move, and I lost everything, including my heart. What should I do? ## Chapter 15. Cough cough. The bodyguard rudely entered, saving me from the fire. "Sir, sorry to interrupt, Miss Ella is here." I saw Anthony's cousin reluctantly walk in, immediately pushing Anthony away. But he still held me, keeping me in his arms. His magnetic voice confident. "What are you afraid of? It's not like we're hiding. I'm not as thick-skinned as you. Why did you call her?" "To laugh at me." The cousin didn't act crazy like before. She walked over red-eyed and apologized. "Leah, I'm sorry for what I said before. It was all my fault. Can you forgive me?" How fresh, the sun rose from the west. I asked Anthony, "Can I not forgive her?" The cousin shivered, tears falling, looking pitiful. "Too bad. I'm not one to pity the weak. Call me a villain." Anthony said, "It's up to you." "Then I don't forgive." The cousin cried in despair. "Ella was sent to Africa for 10 years of teaching. I don't want to go." "Leah, forgive me. I'll be your dog for 10 years, okay? Please. Then bark for me. Woof woof." She really could bend and stretch. Fine, we didn't have deep hatred, and I always retaliated on the spot. "Alright, remember, be my dog for 10 years, obey my orders." The cousin looked at me like a savior. I didn't even know her full name. Forget it, too lazy to ask. From now on, she's my dog. After she left gratefully, Anthony looked at me meaningfully. 10 years? What, you feel sorry for your cousin? Anthony caught the key point. We're related. If she's your dog, so am I. Sorry, I insulted him too. Anthony pressed on. You agree to let me be your lapdog? 10 years is too short, how about a lifetime? Young man, you know how to flirt. And I like it. But can I show it? I kept a straight face. I don't dare, young master. Anthony suddenly said seriously, not a servant, be my queen. I've never been in love, can I start learning to pursue you now? His eyes were too intense, too pure, making it hard for me to joke. I thought seriously. His trust when drunk was indeed very appealing. I coughed lightly, heart racing, a bit nervous. Well, it's not impossible. I'll reluctantly give you a chance. But you have to promise me drink less and never get drunk. If you do, I'll make you kneel on a washboard." Anthony held me in his arms, smiling. Deal. Chapter 16. One day, Anthony's friend called me. "Sis, come quickly. Anthony's drunk at the Starlight Bar." What? Did this man take his promise to me as a joke? I drove the Maserati Anthony bought me, speeding to the bar. I looked up and realized this was the same bar where I first helped Anthony. The world really is a big circle. Back then, he refused to get drunk in the bar to avoid being laughed at by his friends. Now he's making up for it. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to fight. Before I reached the door, I saw several people standing at the entrance to greet me. 3 in a row, all shouting in unison, "Sis is here. Sis is awesome. Sis, please come in." I stopped, suspiciously looking at them. "What are you doing? This is too much. I reasonably suspect you're up to something." "How could we? You're Anthony's one and only. You don't know how crazy Anthony went when you left without a word. And we, as your CP fans, were heartbroken when you broke up." I rubbed my nose, still not convinced. I felt there was a trap ahead. But Anthony's friends were indeed our CP fans. They wouldn't dare harm me. I eagerly stepped forward, entering the bar. I found that the usually noisy and lively bar wasn't very crowded. Anthony was sitting at the bar's performance area, holding a guitar singing. This didn't look like a drunk person at all. Suddenly my heart tightened. Is this a proposal? Oh my God, I forgot to put on makeup. And I didn't wash my hair. I wanted to run away, but I heard Anthony singing, "Oh baby, thank you for being a light in my world, a fleeting beauty. In the vast sea of people, only you are my unforgettable. On the drunken streets, you are my most beautiful encounter." Anthony sang his self-composed love song, his eyes piercing through the crowd, landing on me. Around me, people were cheering, urging me to go on stage. My face was burning, feeling embarrassed. Anthony put down the guitar, holding the microphone, singing as he walked towards me. He knelt on one knee, looking up at me with sincere eyes. He sang the last line of the song, "Oh baby, my only trusted girl, will you marry me?" He took out a beautiful engagement ring from his pocket. Friends around us were clapping in rhythm, chanting, "Marry him, marry him." Although it was cheesy and awkward, I still cried without shame. I extended my hand, letting him slide the beautiful ring onto my finger. Then he stood up, cupping the back of my head, giving me a long kiss. In a daze, I seemed to recall a memory from deep within, a bloodied boy lying in my arms asking my name. I said, "My name is Leah, as in never forget." The boy said, "I remember, I won't forget." The end.